आहेत किती होते ना. आपण
गुड
इथे
मॉर्निंग
दिसतो.
सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
किती आहेत सगळे मिळून? 10
होतील अजून
होतात ना.
हो.
ते स्क्रीन शेअर केलं की परत जॉईन करून घेता येत नाही, त्यामुळे त्यांना सांगते लवकरच
बरोबर
सांगितले अवश्य पण.
नाही असू दे की, असं दिसलं तरी ठीक आहे.
हो.
त्यांना आता बोर्ड दिसतोय.
हो.
मी दिसतोय.
हो.
किती होते मगाच्या तासाला?
मगाशी
13-14 होते. नाश्ता चहा करणार तोपर्यंत. बरं, वाट बघू थोडा वेळ. तोपर्यंत तुम्हाला रिसेंट डेव्हलपमेंट माहीत झाली आहेत ना. आता परीक्षा घ्यायच्या आहेत. हॅलो, आवाज येतोय ना पूजा?
हो सर, येतोय आवाज.
हा, काय नाही, परीक्षा आता अर्जंट परीक्षा घ्यायच्या शासनाने ठरवल्या ऑक्टोबरमध्ये. सप्टेंबर संपला की ऑक्टोबर, नोव्हेंबरला रिझल्ट. आता तुमच्या परीक्षेचं काय होते बघू. गेल्या वर्षीच्या सगळे जर तसेच पास झाले तर पास झाले, नसतील तर मग तुम्हाला रिड्युस्ड एक्झाम असं काहीतरी येऊ घातले. कमी मार्काची आणि तुम्ही घरनच द्यायची, इथं यायचं नाही. बघू, 2 दिवसात क्लिअर होईल काहीतरी.
म्हणजे पाठीमागच्या वर्षीचं का?
हा, सोडवायला लागणार ना.
त्यांचं-
म्हणजे तुम्हाला आता काय
हो.
केले, थर्ड सेम च्या फर्स्ट सेमच्या मार्कावर तुम्हाला आम्ही प्रमोट केलंय, पास पण केलंय. पण एखाद्या व्यक्ती, फॉर एक्झाम्पल पूजाला, तुलाच आता असं वाटत असेल की नाही, मला जेवढे मार्क दिलेत त्याच्यापेक्षा मी जास्त पाडीन परीक्षा दिली तर दे परीक्षा, अशी सोय आहे. आणि एखाद्याला जर वाटत असेल नाही नाही मी पास आहे आता बस, मला नाही जायचं परीक्षेला, तर तरी ओके. आता आम्ही तुमच्याकडनं लिहून घेणार की मला मार्क मान्य आहेत किंवा मी परीक्षा परत देणार. ज्याला मान्य आहेत परीक्षा मार्क ते पुढे गेला, ज्याला नाही मान्य त्या परीक्षा देणार नोव्हेंबरमध्ये. म्हणजे ऑक्टोबरच्या पहिल्या वीकात नोव्हेंबरला निकाल लागणार. आणि जे जुने विषय राहिलेत ना ते सुद्धा ऑक्टोबरमध्येच एक्झाम होणार.
हा, म्हणजे बॅकला वगैरे
बॅकला राहिलेले त्यांचे आता 2-3 दिवसात क्लिअर होईल काय आहे ते. आता आपली तुमची एक्झाम आता सुरू झाली ना, काल झाली ना ट्रायल एक्झाम?
हो, काल झाली ISC.
तर आता आहे ना, तुमची जी एक्झाम होणार का नाही, राहिलेले विषय असतील काय, ती त्या टाईप मध्येच होणार आहे. म्हणून आपण ती प्रॅक्टिस घेतोय. फार काही वेगळी होणार नाही ह्याच्यापेक्षा. मार्क वाढतील आणि थोडस डिफाईन, राईट शॉर्ट नोट्स आणि एखादा फुल क्वेश्चन असं काहीतरी होईल. आणि मे बी 25 किंवा 30 मार्क्सची परीक्षा होईल. ती तुम्ही टायमर लावला जाईल फक्त आता. हा, म्हणजे जसं इकडं तुम्ही परीक्षेला बसल्यावर 3 तासांनी पेपर काढून घेतात, तसं तो तुमच्या स्क्रीनवरनं गायबच होणार. म्हणजे काढूनच घेणार तुम्हाला, तो काय आहे तो पेपर तेवढ्या वेळात सोडवायचा, असं काहीतरी येऊ घातले. बघूया काय काय होते. आणि तुम्हाला आता मॅडमनी सांगितलं असेल दर शनिवारी आपला ऍक्टिव्हिटीचा तास असणार आहे, बरोबर आहे का?
हो.
मग तुम्ही काहीतरी ऍक्टिव्हिटी करायच्या रोजच. आता आपण प्रॅक्टिकल सुद्धा सुरू करतोय हळूहळू. आणि प्रॅक्टिकल म्हणजे बायोस्टॅट घेता येते, तुमचं बायो इन्फॉर्मेटिक घेता येते, अजून एखादा डेमो असला तर असं काहीतरी सुरू करून तुमच्या ऍक्टिव्हिटीमध्ये प्रोजेक्ट आपल्याला घ्यायचे. त्याच्यानंतर तुमचे रिव्ह्यू रायटिंग, असं तुमच्या ऍक्टिव्हिटी थोड्या वाढवायच्या. टीचिंग आता आपलं हळूहळू थोडंसं स्लो करायचंय, कमी बंद नाही करायचं, स्लो करायचंय. कारण आता परीक्षेचं कदाचित काही जणांना अभ्यास करायला लागेल, काय करायला लागेल. 12 जण झाली. चला आपण सुरू करूया. येतील ते येतील. थोडस मी गेल्या वेळेस बोललोय, पण आता काय बरेच दिवस झाले थोडस हे करू. तो टॉपिक आता काय झाले, तो माझा मी कम्प्लीट करायचा असं ठरवले, इम्युनॉलॉजीचा काय असेल तो. आपण थोडीशी सुरुवात केली होती. तुम्हाला दिसते का चित्र? मला दिसे ना माझं चित्र.
नाही, आम्हाला पण दिसत नाहीये.
हा, ते शोधते काहीतरी मला. शेजारी बसले पण ते नाही मला वाटते ते जरा मी हलवलं त्यात त्याचा सेटिंग झालं. आवाज येते ना?
हो, आवाज येतोय की.
हा, दिसलो मी.
हा, दिसतोय. हा.
बर, आपण इम्युनॉलॉजी, आता मी नवीन पार्ट आहे तेवढा फक्त बोर्डवर शिकवेन. जुनं काय काय झाले बघा. इम्युनिटी, मेडिकल इम्युनिटी. इम्युनिटी, we are studying the medical immunity. That means to be free from. टू बी फ्री फ्रॉम. आपण हे बघितलंय, थोडंसं मी बोललोय सुद्धा या विषयावर. आणि तुमचं आहे ना BSc 2 झूमध्ये झालेला आहे. BSc 2 ला आपल्याला थोडासा सिलेबस होता, तो सुद्धा माझ्याकडेच होता. अँटीजेन, अँटीबॉडी रिएक्शन, स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ अँटीबॉडी, आणि दोन तीन गोष्टी आपण त्यावेळेला क्लिअर करायचो. आवाज येतोय ना?
हो सर, येतोय आवाज. फक्त स्क्रीन तुमची दिसत नाहीये.
स्क्रीन फ्रीज झाली.
हा.
हा, स्क्रीनला काहीतरी होते माझ्या. ठीक आहे, स्क्रीन राहू दे फ्रीज. आता बघा, सो immunity, medical immunity means to be free from something related to diseases. Then during the introductory lecture we have seen that two types of immunities are present. One is innate immunity, which is natural, which is the immunity present in right from your birth, and the other one is acquired or adaptive immunity. So natural immunity, innate immunity, we have seen something right from standard 11th. You have been learning regarding the role of WBCs, phagocytosis, how the blood cells, they attack the bacterial cells, the unwanted chemicals, and remove them, and so on and so forth. So during the last lecture we have seen that the first point as far as the natural immunity is concerned is the barriers. The barriers. Which barriers? The barriers that are present in our body. Our body is covered all over by skin, and it is a very good barrier. So barricade, barrier, something which is present, which will block the entry, prevent the entry of unwanted materials into our body. So skin is a barrier. You must be knowing that skin is made up of so many layers. The innermost layer is stratum germinativum, which is reproductive, which multiplies and produces cells towards the outside. And as we move outside, the nucleus is lost, and the body is covered by dead cells. So there are no living cells after the inner layer produces them on the outer side, and this acts as a protective covering. It acts as protective covering against the entry of microorganisms, entry of dust particles, entry of chemicals, entry of even cold temperature. You must have seen that during your cold आपण म्हणतो काटा आला अंगावर, and the hair will stand up in their follicles. So this is an adaptation. So this is something in order to prevent the entry of temperature inside. And as soon as the hair will rise, there is a thin layer formed which prevents the entry of that cold temperature into our body. So this acts as a barrier. And which type of skin? Unbroken skin. That's the technical term, because the skin should not be broken. Otherwise, in the place where the skin is broken, there will be entry of so many substances, unwanted materials. So the skin should be unbroken. It should be healthy. And in order to keep the skin unbroken, healthy, what are the different points present? So there is a constant removal of dead cells. There is production of new layers, and the dead cells are removed after every 25 to 28 days, and new layers are formed. Then secondly, there are present sebaceous sweat glands. They will produce sweat. Then there are present wax glands. They will secrete a thin layer of wax, which maintains the oily texture of the skin and prevents the drying. So you must have observed that during the winter season, especially, we suffer from dry skin. Dry skin. Why? Because the wax glands, they secrete wax, but which is not sufficient, or which will not be to the required temperature, and that is why it will become hard and the skin will crack. And during summer season, the wax will be somewhat molten. It will be soft and it will cover the skin and it will protect our body. Then there are present hair which prevent the attack and so on. So skin. Next, we have seen during the last lecture that our sense organs are open. Sense organs are open. Eyes, unless we keep the eyes open, we will not be able to see objects around us. Unless we keep our ears open, we will not be able to hear the objects. Then there are sense organs, sense of touch, the tongue, which is inside the mouth. Again, it is an open sense organ where there are chances of entry of microorganisms and other substances. So the sense organs are having orifices, openings, apertures, and that is why they need to be guarded. So what are the different barriers over there? The barriers are in the form of secretions. Secretions. Number one, secretion of tears, secretion of lacrimal gland. We'll keep your eyes moist, and we blink our eyelids. आपण पापण्या हलवतो. मग काय करतो? We are spreading that substance over the cornea, over the lens, so that a thin protective layer of this chemical is spread. Then there is present wax in our ears, wax gland. आपण म्हणतो कानात मळ आला. Actually, it is protective. It is protective. It has absorbed the unwanted material. It has trapped the unwanted material. Then in our mouth there is presence of saliva, mucus, which keeps our mouth moist, our tongue moist, so that we can speak, we can swallow, and we can carry out the normal activities. So in this way, this forms the second layer. Then natural immunity by chance. By chance, what happens is there is an entry of unwanted material in the skin. आपण थोडंसं मी बोललो होतो. This leads to the reaction called as itching, swelling. Then what happens? There is present red skin, rashes will be formed, so on and so forth. This is called as inflammation. Inflammation. आपल्याला दुखायला लागतं, खाजायला लागतं, so on, so many. What is this? This is an immune response that the skin is broken. This is a signal to the blood cells, signal to the different systems of the body that the skin is broken, and now there is possibility of entry of unwanted material in our body. So at that place, WBCs will concentrate because they are amoeboid. They can move through the blood capillaries. They can migrate from one part to another. They will collect near that site and they will start fighting with the unwanted material, the bacteria, the viruses, the what you call pollen grains, and so many chemicals present in the air, and the dust particles. So there will be a fight between the blood cells. If the blood cells win, what happens? After 1 or 2 days, there is formation of a clot and your skin is repaired and you are okay, normal. But if the material entering is dangerous, it will kill the blood cells, leading to formation of pus. आपण म्हणतो का नाही, जखम बळावली, पू झाला. मग ऍक्च्युअल काय, आपल्या WBC मेलेल्या आहेत आणि ते थोड्या WBC हारल्या आहेत आपल्या, आणि म्हणून ते इन्फेक्शन क्लिअर व्हायला वेळ लागतो. And then come the killer cells and so on and so forth, and that problem is solved. So this is natural immunity which is present. Now whatever I am telling for the past 4 or 5 minutes is natural immunity present in an individual and it is non-specific. आतापर्यंत आपण बोललो non-specific, heat, cold, bacteria, chemicals, anything, and the response will be same. Response will be same. Barrier will block, then the cells will repair and try to make the body healthy and as it was before the attack. So whatever we are talking is natural immunity. Now we come to the part that I will introduce today and will keep on learning in an advanced manner in the next lecture, that is adaptive immunity and acquired immunity. So natural you can read and I'll give you the notes, no problem. You have been studying it for so many years. Even acquired immunity, acquired or adaptive is an adaptation which is, as the name indicates, not present at birth. It is not present at birth, but it is acquired. It is acquired when at some stage of life cycle. This immunity is acquired. And how it is acquired, why it is acquired? It is acquired as an adaptation. Adaptation against an attack. Adaptation against an attack. Then who is going to attack our body? Microorganisms are going to attack our body. Chemicals are going to attack, and our body adapts by formation of antibodies, by formation of substances which will remove this type of attack. So now today we are going to see the adaptive immunity. Now I'll write down only 4 words. Adaptive. This is classified into passive, active, passive and active. Again it is classified into
natural and artificial.
Natural and artificial. And then again natural passive, natural active, artificial passive, artificial active. So you are familiar with this term, so we'll just go to the different examples, out of which, say, natural. If we go for natural and active, natural active. What is natural active? As I was saying, we suffer from cold, sardi zali. Then we suffer from different types of infections. Then, say example, chicken pox and whooping cough. Whooping cough. These are two very well-known examples. आपण काय म्हणतो मराठीत त्याला कांजिण्या आणि डांग्या खोकला. So these are some infection. The body is not having immunity, natural immunity. So what happens is there is an entry of these microorganisms. Our body fights against them, defeats them, and keeps the memory cells. Keeps the memory cells. Some part you have studied, that is the lymphocytes. They maintain a memory, and this is lifelong memory. मग तुम्ही परत त्या आजारात पडत नाही, त्या आजाराने परत आयुष्यात आजारी पडत नाही. फार रेअर केस मध्ये. नाही तर काय होतं, that particular disease causing organism is remembered by our body. It is remembered by our body with the help of memory cells present in the blood. And as soon as there is repeated entry, it will be immediately defeated and we will remain safe. So this is artificial. And natural, in very rare cases. This happens in rare cases where a pregnant mother, a lady who is pregnant, gets infected. She gets infected or she is attacked by presence of some chemical. A very well-known example is scorpion bite. So if a scorpion, as you must be knowing, arachnida, and it is having a sting apparatus, and there is present venom in the scorpion, and the potency of the venom as compared to the volume, as compared to the bee venom, it is less potent. As compared to snake venom, it is less potent. So it will not cause death of the individual, but it will cause some harmful effects. Some harmful effects, maybe patient will have to be hospitalized, there will be swelling, bleeding, and his different systems will be affected, and so many things happen. What happens is, if a woman during her pregnancy gets attacked by a scorpion and gets a scorpion bite, what will happen is she will suffer for 1, 2, 3 days, and she will be cured. Maybe the doctor will give her some medicine and something and so on. But as the venom has entered her body, what happens? As soon as the venom reaches the blood, there will be a reaction against that venom as it is toxic, and there will be production of antibodies against that scorpion venom. Antibodies. So we classify them as IgG and so on. We are going to learn that in detail later on. And some part you have learned in your BSc too. The immunoglobulins are formed and so many things are produced, and that particular woman is cured. She is cured of that scorpion bite. Now what happens is, she has a normal delivery and she gives birth to a young one, and that child grows, and by chance, say if and then, say after 4 years, 5 years, or during the childhood, if that child goes in the field and is attacked by a scorpion and gets a scorpion bite, there is absolutely no effect other than a very small swelling. There will be some itching, burning reaction, inflammation, and that's it. It will be cured. Why? Because the pregnant mother, she had produced antibodies, and she had transferred them into the body of that baby through the placenta. So this is a passive thing. So in the placenta, it is permeable to some substances. It is semi-permeable. The blood cannot pass from maternal to the fetal circulatory system, but some substances, example is food, immunoglobulins, they can pass into the body of the baby. The second example, again related to maternal, is the colostrum. कोलस्ट्रम. आपण काय करतो, खरवस करतो, चीक म्हणतो, आणि दॅट इज ॲक्च्युअली प्रोटीन. आणि मग तुम्ही जर घरी बघितलं असेल तर पहिल्या 3 दिवसाचा खरवस देवाला चालत नाही, कारण तो नॉनव्हेज आहे. आणि नंतर तो व्हेज होतो. कशामुळे व्हेज होतो खरवस? तर फॉर द फर्स्ट 3 days दॅट इज थिक मिल्क called as colostrum, and it contains blood cells. It contains some WBC, some immunoglobulins, something which is required by the developing young one, where outside the body. It आत होतं पोटात, तोपर्यंत प्रोटेक्शन होतं त्याला. आणि when that baby is born, through the colostrum some immune substances are passed. So this is one more example, and so many examples. So this is acquired, acquired naturally. There is no necessity for inducing, and this is again non-specific. It is non-specific up to the entry level, but as soon as the material enters in the body, it becomes specific. It becomes specific. Specific antibodies are produced and they are retained in the blood. Now we come to the burning issue. Today we are all sitting in our houses because of corona, and what the scientists are working at, so to the best of my knowledge, it requires somewhere around 10 to 15 years to produce a vaccine. Normally it requires 10 to 15 years, because there are so many trials, as Bendre ma'am and Kalyani madam was doing, that they tried it on chick egg. Next step is they try that medicine on mice, and maybe it will go to an hamster or something, then it will go to the primates, and then it will be tried on humans. And after confirmation that there are no side effects and so on and so forth, it will be declared as a medicine or a vaccine. So it requires so many years, so many experiments, and so many things. But because of this COVID pandemic, we are trying to fast track this process. We are trying to complete this process in 1.5 years. So we are already nearing, say, 7-8 months. in captivity because of COVID. And we are getting news that Russia has prepared a vaccine. It has already vaccinated so many scientists and so on and so forth. And we Indians are also not behind the world. We are producing about 1 lakh ampules per day, and as soon as the number reaches a substantial figure sufficient for our country, it will be distributed simultaneously. It will be distributed simultaneously. So what we are talking about is this second part, artificial, artificial active, artificial active, where what is done is already all of you and even me, we were vaccinated. We were vaccinated. So vaccinated BCG injections were given to us, and polio vaccine and so on and so forth. And what is actually this? The antigen. The antigen is collected, then it is say narcotized or killed, or some part of the antigen, the active ingredient of the antigen. It is introduced in the body purposely. Why it is called active? It is introduced purposely so as to obtain and reaction. So as to obtain and reaction, and our body reacts by producing a specific antibody.
Antibodies.
And these antibodies produced, there are memory cells which will remember that particular antigen, and in future again if there is a similar sort of an attack, immediately the body will remove that substance. So in order to avoid polio, in order to avoid infections in the future, the infection, such infections which may lead to disability, which may lead to some drastic effect and so on. So what we do is, as soon as the baby is born, we inoculate it, we give vaccination, and we produce vaccine. So this is what is going on throughout the world. We are trying to get a vaccine for coronavirus. What does that indicate? That a part of virus, the active ingredient of a virus, it is removed. Then you have learned the PCR technique, and then it is introduced inside an animal, and that animal will produce antibodies, and these antibodies will remain in our body, and we will be cured. So instead of introducing a coronavirus, we introduce a part of it, or a dead virus, a part, say cell wall, the active chemical, or some ingredient which is not going to kill us, but which is going to make us stronger against the attack of corona. So vaccines are produced, and now this requires the blood cells. Then we'll come to that point later on. The second one, again passive, passive artificial, is again related to corona. What is going on in India and so many countries? A person, healthy person like you, healthy person like all of you, the young individuals like our students of zoology and so many young individuals, they are not that susceptible to corona. Their immunity is strong, their body is healthy, and what happens is, even if coronavirus enters their body, they are cured naturally without even any sort of a medicine. You must have heard so many stories about very young patients who are admitted to the hospital, and what they simply do is they provide them with vitamin C, then healthy food, okay, and so many different nutritious substances, and the person is cured in some days, and he is sent off. So young people. Whereas on the other side, the infants, the babies, or the old people, the old individual, what happens to them? They are more susceptible. Maybe they will be affected, their nervous system will be affected, their respiratory systems are affected most, and they have to be transferred to rooms having ventilators. Hmm? And they'll have to be provided with artificial respiration because their normal respiratory system is not working properly, and so on. And that is why there is a requirement of treatment. Now, what the point that I was coming to was the young individuals like you, they are coming forward with antibodies which are ready against corona. How? Because that person was infected by corona, and because of the healthy system, because of the young age, because of very strong immune system, they produce antibodies against corona, and they were cured. They were cured, but the antibodies produced against corona, they will be present in their blood, in their plasma, and the plasma of such individuals, it is being collected and injected to susceptible individuals. So this is called as plasma therapy. You must have read in the newspaper, or you must have heard on television. So what is actually plasma theory? That healthy individuals, they produce, and this is called as passive artificial immunity. Passive because that individual is doing nothing. It is getting that particular individual affected by corona is getting ready-made antibodies. Ready-made antibodies produced by somebody else, some other individual. But the only problem is related to blood group. The blood group should match because the plasma will be containing antibodies against the ABO system. So if the blood group matches, and B blood group having individual is infected, and another person having B blood group was cured of corona, he'll be having antibodies against corona, and that person, the plasma will be introduced into the infected individual. The second very well known example is snake bite. Maybe all the students who were in YC, I was the one who taught you snakes, identification of snakes, and then we had one full lecture on production of antisera. Antisera at Hafkin Institute, where what is done is a snake venom, venom from different snakes, it is collected and it is introduced inside the body of a healthy horse. Healthy horse, and then the dose is adjusted in such a manner that the dose is increased day by day, slowly and steadily, and a day will come when the horse produces sufficient antibodies for concentrated dose of snake venom, and then this horse will donate some blood. Hmm? Will donate some blood, and plasma from this blood is removed. The amount of antibodies which are produced against the snake venom are counted. They are diluted, packed in ampule, and they are sold in the market as antivenin. Antivenin, polyvenin. And why polyvenin? I even that time I told you that when I was small, there used to be different antivenins for different snakes. Cobra bite will be having a different injection. Crate will be having a different injection, but now the scientists have introduced, say, polyvenin. All the different venoms are injected to the same horse, and the antivenin antibodies produced by the horse will be against all the different types of snakes. So any venomous snake bite is injected by antivenin. So this is again ready antibody. Ready antibody from some other animal introduced inside the body of human beings in order to save the life. त्यावेळेला मी हे सांगितलं होतं की the human body is capable of producing antibodies against snake venom. It is capable, but the amount of venom is such that the time required for production of antibodies is 7 days, but the individual will die in 70 minutes. So that's the problem. Otherwise, even similar to the horse, there are some individuals. There is an individual in Guinness Book of World Records who was bitten by the snake, or he has induced snake bite for more than 200 something times, and now he is having sufficient antibodies in his blood, so that even if he is attacked by a venomous snake, he has sufficient antibodies in the blood. So human body is capable. So this is active, passive, natural, and artificial. Now what we come to is there are two types of blood responses. Two types of blood responses. So the serious business will start from next week onwards. So what we are going to study is the immunity is having, as I said, two different parts related to blood. One is humoral part, and that is the blood will be engaged, the blood cells will be engaged in production of antibodies. And that part we have seen in BSc 2, but we'll again repeat it for MSc at a somewhat higher level. So, and the lymphocytes, the lymphocytes, they will be engaged in production of antibodies, and these antibodies will be released in the blood, and the lymphocytes will be moving normally in their system, circulatory system, and the antibodies, I might have told you in the last lecture that they are produced at the rate of 22,000 antibodies per second. 2000 antibodies every second, so that's the rate at which they are produced. And these antibodies, they'll be circulating in the system, and as soon as they come in contact with that antigen, they are specific, and that is why they will attach, form a reaction, and that antigen will be cured or the antibody will be lost. So at least one of these things will take place, and a time will come that repeated antibody attack will lead to removal of that antigen. So this is one method, and the second is actual involvement of the blood cells. Involvement of the blood cells, actually the cell will go to that particular place. The cells will migrate to that particular place where there is a problem, and they will try to clear that. So there are so many types of different types of cells: the normal WBCs, the mast cells, the killer cells, and so on. So this is a type of, again, immunity or a response by the blood. Then we will be studying the different types of antigens, then pathogenicity of the antigen, and then the actual antibody. Then there is a topic in our syllabus related to MHC class 1, MHC class 2. So histocompatibility complex, donor, organ donation, then autoimmune diseases. Sometimes our body creates problems by producing antibodies against our own body, and which leads to some typical harmful condition. And during the organ donation, again, there are substances which require to be taken into consideration. Nobody can simply go and donate kidney to some other person. The MSc class 1, class 2, so this is called as tissue matching. It should match, otherwise it is not possible. But today the science is advanced to such a level that they will forcefully introduce an organ into somebody else. That also happened, which happened in my family, with my brother, who tried 1 or 2,000 kidney donors, and there was no match. And finally my sister donated her kidney, and it was introduced forcibly into my cousin's body, in addition to the original 2 kidneys. And now he has to take some immunodepressant drugs, because the body of my cousin, it is thinking that this particular organ is an foreign body and it should be destroyed. So it is producing antibodies against the kidney, the good kidney. And that is why he has to take medicines to remain in diseased condition. So he should not be cured. He must remain, his immunity should be down, so that kidney will remain unnoticed. So this is how some things are coming up in the recent years. So from next lecture onwards, we will start with the actual topic. So what we'll be doing is, I'll simply upload the notes. I was busy for so many days, and right now even I have 10 or 15 meetings for today. But very important day in my life is 1st September, because this is my service birthday. I joined my duties on 1st September 1985. So yesterday I completed 35 years of my service, and today is the first day of the 36th year. And I received the message from the madam So are you going to take the class? And actually, I was so busy. I have a meeting right now with the principal, but I became somewhat senti, and I said that okay, this is my 36th birthday, the beginning of the 36th year of our service, and the first day, and I should not miss this opportunity. So maybe from today onwards, I'll be meeting you regularly. Let us hope I'll meet you regularly as per the scheduled timetable, so that I'll complete the syllabus assigned to me. So thank you one and all. See you next time. Any questions or any suggestions from your side? We'll have some discussion for 4 or 5 minutes. बोला, तुम्हाला काय बोलायचं असलं तर बोला 4-5 मिनिटात. काय अजून आहे तुमचं काय? चहा प्यायला या, सगळे पार्टी आहे आज. बर, तुम्ही याचं काय करताय बघा, मॅडमशी बोलून घ्या. शिक्षक दिनाचं काय करताय?
हो सर.
आता काय झालंय, कॉलेजनं आपल्याला टाइम टेबल दिले आहेत आणि कॉलेजनं गुगल लाईन्स तयार करून दिले आहेत. मग त्या गुगल लाईन्सला तितक्या वाजता आपल्या फॅकल्टी मेंबरची एंट्री असते क्लासरूम मध्ये. तर तुमच्यातलं कोण खरंच सिरियस घेणार असेल तास, तर मग तुम्हाला सिलेबस कोणाकडनं तरी शिकून बघून घ्यायला लागेल. सिलेबस बघून घ्यायला लागेल आणि मग एंट्री केली पाहिजे. किंवा मग तुम्ही आता आपल्याकडे MSc 1 काय नाही इतक्यात, BSc 3 ला शिकवणार असला तर मग आपल्यात ते ऍडजस्ट करू. पण BSc 3 ला सुद्धा कॅन्डिडेट सध्या बसत नाही. बघा, वर्कआउट करा तुम्ही शिकवणार असला तर, कारण ते मोठे वर्ग आहेत. BSc 2 ला सध्या 150 पोरं असतात आणि BSc 1 ला तसं 150-200 पोरं असतात. नाही तर BSc 1 ला आपण काय केलंय, इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम आणि असलं काय काय सुरू केलं. म्हणजे ऍक्च्युअल ऍडमिशनच चालू आहे. BSc 2 चालू झालाय आपला. BSc 2 चालू झालाय, BSc 3 चालू झालाय. मग बघा मग काय करताय तुम्ही. आता कॉलेजच्या वतीनं प्रोग्राम असा ठरलेला आहे की आपला तो GS आहे तो, त्याचा प्रतिनिधी कोणतरी कॉलेजवर येणार. एक व्याख्यान चांगलं ठेवलेलं आहे सगळ्या विद्यार्थ्यांसाठी. TY आणि MSc आम्ही म्हणतोय घ्यायची फक्त. आणि प्रातिनिधिक स्वरूपात GS प्राचार्यांना बुके देईल किंवा पुष्प देईल आणि टीचर्स डे साजरा करेल. आणि मग तो सगळं व्हर्च्युअल असेल. एक कोणतरी कॉलेजवर येईल विद्यार्थी. नंतर मग दुपारी आपला कार्यक्रम ठेवायला हरकत नाही. बघा तुम्ही वर्कआउट करा काय काय. मॅडम, आता तुमचे प्रोजेक्ट सगळं ऍक्टिव्हेट करा. प्रोजेक्ट सुरू करा. प्रॅक्टिकल असतील त्या बघा काय असेल. आणि मग स्टुडंट ऍक्टिव्हिटी काय घेताय?
मॅडम म्हणत होत्या सर की आपण डेज वगैरे सेलिब्रेट करूया. मग त्यावर
आता न्यूट्रिशन वीक आहे. हा आठवडा वीक आजच आहे. न्यूट्रिशन डे आहे मला वाटतंय. आणि हा आठवडा वर्ल्ड न्यूट्रिशन वीक म्हणून साजरा करतात. तर आपण एक व्याख्यान ठेवलंय कदम मॅडमचं आणि यांचं मुलांसाठी, न्यूट्रिशन डे म्हणून वीक साजरा करायला. मग ते झूलॉजी आणि हेल्थ क्लबच्या वतीनं ठेवलंय. तसं जर तुम्ही काय करणार असला तर ते बघा. नाही तर मग आता एखादा डे कुठला येणार असेल जवळपास, तो साजरा करा. नाही तर तुमचा तुम्ही कार्यक्रम घ्या. सगळं ऑर्गनाईज तुम्ही करायचं. आम्ही प्राध्यापक येऊन बसू तुमच्या कार्यक्रमाला. असं करू.
सर क्विज वगैरे आपण घेतली तर?
आम्ही नाही घ्यायचं. आमची इच्छा म्हणजे माझं स्वतःचं म्हणणं आहे की तुम्ही बघावं. आता स्टुडंटनी, तुम्ही स्टुडंट लोकांनी काहीतरी हे करावं. आता आमचं सगळ्यांचं झालंय हे. काय करताय बघा. तुम्ही ठरवा की तुमच्या लेवलला तुम्ही ठरवा काय मला सांगा.
मध्ये एक लेक्चर झालेलं आता आपलं शुक्रवारी होतं की ह्याच्यासाठी
हा
आता या कोविड सिच्युएशन मध्ये आपलं न्यूट्रिशन ते कसं काय
हो ते झालं, पण तो काय झाला, तो हेल्थ क्लबचा कार्यक्रम होता. आता झुलॉजीचा आहे कार्यक्रम.
हा
हा, झू आणि हेल्थ क्लब मिळून मुलांसाठी आपण ऑर्गनाईज करतोय किंवा प्राध्यापकांसाठी. तर आपल्या आपल्या डिपार्टमेंटचं ठरवा ना, काहीतरी वेगळं ठरवा.
चालेल.
तुम्ही ठरवा, तुम्ही सगळ्यांनी मिळून मीटिंग मध्ये तुमच्या मीटिंगला किंवा असंच कंटिन्यू करा, बोला आणि ठरवून टाका काय आपल्याला चालतंय ते. आणि तुम्ही डे एखादा साजरा करा. आपण समजा शेजारची आता शाळा आहे रयत इंग्लिश मीडियम, त्यांना जॉईन करायला लावू ना, असं म्हणतोय मी.
हा हा
हा, म्हणजे इव्हन टीचर्स डे तुम्ही तसा सुद्धा साजरा करू शकता. ऑनलाईन त्यांना शिकवू शकता किंवा ऑनलाईन काहीतरी छान दाखवू शकता त्यांना. असं काहीतरी बघा, वर्कआउट करा, मॅडमशी बोला, मग माझ्यापर्यंत पोचवा.
चालेल.
ओके,
ठीक.
चला. काही नाही ना, आता झालंय ना तुमचं?
हो सर. हो, झाले लेक्चर सकाळी.
ओके ओके, चलो बाय.
हो सर.
हे रेकॉर्डिंग आपोआप होतंय ना? रेकॉर्डिंग सुरू आहे. हे काय इथंच आहे, मॅडमचं हेच आहे आता. हे बाहेर कुठून काढायचं? ठीक आहे, गुगल मीटच होतं ना. हो, मॅडमनी कनेक्ट इथं आहे मध्ये मध्ये ऑलरेडी. हे
हॅलो.